And with a flick of a button, hello everybody. It is Pseudo. It is a Monday, which means it is our MMO Buff podcast where we discuss literally all kinds of topics involving online games. We tend to focus on MMOs, but believe me, that's not the only thing we focus on. I am joined this evening by Screenager, who is replacing Mizpah today because poor Mizpah, oh my gosh, he is sick as a dog. And yeah.
Hello, I'd attempt to do a Misfa impression, but quite frankly, I've got nothing to forget to bring with me, and I'm not lost.
Hey, you be nice. Only I get to pick on Mizpah.
Any target is fair game.
Oh, well, it is a show about PvP. Haha. But before we go into the topics, I want to take a moment to just say hello to all of you who have joined. Please remember, if you have any questions or comments, preface them with a Q and a colon. We have Harsey, who is one of our fabulous moderators, who will be collecting questions and tossing them up into our little document of doom so that we can make certain that we can take all of your questions to the best of our ability in the time limit that we are given. Haha. Are you
For the people asking me to speak closer to the mic, how's that for everyone now?
Is he quiet? Because he's loud for me. But then again,
Oh, we don't care about you. Hold on, I'll just turn myself up, irrespective of Pseudo. She just have to grin and bear it.
pretty much, which kind of is like, but that's okay. So, anyway, tonight's show is literally all about PvP in a variety of forms. And I know some people are going to sit there and go, but you guys focus on PvE things. That's not the only thing that we do. Yes. How long have you been playing MMOs, Screen?
Longer than a mature adult should be.
Longer than a mature adult. Well, let's see. Apparently, I'm going to fix my mixer here, but apparently everyone says that you are too quiet. Even though I hear you crystal clear.
Yeah, I'm almost flooding my mic gate at the moment, so I think the mixer is going to be the issue.
How about now?
Rawr.
Yes, I've got him turned up as much as I can get him turned up currently. So,
How about now? Because I'm now flooding my mic gate.
wow. Well, Vistum says that you sound fine to him, so I guess we'll have to go with that and hope that whatever choices we have made.
If one person says it's fine, that's clearly a win. Oh, good, ship it.
You heard it. Put the packaging on it. Right. So, one of the things we like to do is to discuss topics, like I said. However, we're not going to handle this the way we handle most shows. We're going to do things a little bit different, mainly because, in my opinion, PvP deserves love. And I want to make certain it gets it, which is going to be shocking for some people. But first, Screen, do you remember the first time you had a PvP experience in an MMO?
It's taken it back a long time and getting to slightly embarrassing games. Probably the first time within an MMO that I had a PvP experience would be many years ago in a port of some sort of Chinese online game called Tales of Pirates. And it was the whole game had a maze dungeon that spawned every 9 hours or so, and I just followed some people into it with my guild I was in at the time, not knowing any better. Literally hadn't played MMOs for years and just didn't know what I was doing, and followed people in and suddenly realised that I had to fight other people. And from that complete noob, there now sits this complete noob, maybe over a decade later.
Okay, so for you it was with a import.
With a port of a Chinese MMO game, yeah.
Okay. Now for me, if I put it into MMO context and I remove the MUDs and, the dueling things like TCGs and blah, 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 and I put it purely in the MMOs, I got started in Galaxies and I didn't PvP in Galaxies. I remember watching videos of people PvPing in Galaxies and the frame rate being not even one. So I kind of put it off. I was just like, no. Dueling, yes, I have done a few things like that, but it
Yeah.
wasn't anything like overtly, oh, this is important. I'm running around flagged kind of a thing. I wasn't playing on a PvP server. I didn't even know what a PvP server was, to be perfectly honest with you, because I just went to a server where friends were and I'm like, cool, let's do stuff. However, my first proper introduction to PvP happened in the race course in World of Warcraft Vanilla. Now, this is going to seem kind of odd to people, but my first server was a PvP server in WoW. And I I didn't have a PvP experience until level 42. So take that for what it's worth. I was on Deathicus, actually, the server, and I was at the race course, and my guild leader at the time happened to be walking around with me because we were just chatting, and he was level 60, and he was in, Molten Core raid gear, and he was just walking around. And I had someone tap me on the head, but I couldn't see them. And my guild leader said, well, I'm not going to tell you where he is, but you have a troll rogue wanting to beat you up. See if you can do it. I'm like, you're not going to help? He goes, no. You gotta learn on your own. Let's see what you can do. After that, I'll help you. I'll teach you what you need to know. So I remember running around in this giant, huge, massive desert, trying to find this other rogue. I was a rogue too. Let's just say it was a very stunning experience because we kept sapping each other and swirling around for a while. But, nothing horrible came of it. But he said, right, now I know what your problem is. You don't even know what you're doing. And I went, duh. So he took a heck of a lot of time to make certain I learned about PvP. And my first experience with that was someone who was a max level was not going to mess with someone who was 18 levels below them because it was a waste of their time.
Yeah.
Which I thought was rather interesting. So that kind of stuck with me. And I think that's been ingrained in me. When I go into PvP, especially into PvP servers, I'm not going to run around looking for the little guy to gank because I'm sorry. I have nothing to prove on that. I would rather test my mettle v somebody who is either similarly geared, skilled, or what have you, However, if you're like a level 18 and I'm running around and I'm level 40 and you hit me on the head, don't be surprised if I tap you back because, I'll let you have your shots at me. Go for it. But yes.
Well, you've got far more scruples than many gankers then.
Well, I know I do, and I PvP differently than a lot of people do, but at the same time, there are a lot of people who PvP similarly to me. So let's move in now. You've now learned our first experiences with PvP. What was your best experience in PvP? Now, I'm going to make you break this into two parts.
Yeah.
First, I'd like to know your favorite or your best experience in PvP in a group structured content. And then I want to know one about open world, because open world is a whole different kettle of fish. So your best experience there.
Okay, well, I know knows what I'm gonna say, but in fairness, the most prominent memory I have of PvP is probably running a 400 odd person raid back in Aeon. Those days were pretty. They're not going to be something you're going to forget, and they're a lot of work to get through. So running a 400 man siege raid across an entire server's populations, it's a big deal. And running those and running them to the extent that they win it is a memorable experience within a structured content. Well, we'll see if I play Arcade Journey. But as it stands, it is a memorable experience with a structured content, and it's not easy to do running that many
Mm-mm.
people across multiple com servers and understanding the battlefield and understanding what's going on and be able to process that much information, being able to make decisions and move forward. We're not talking about just understanding how a meta works within a game and how five men will synchronize the skills. We're talking about understanding even more about that, about how specific classes should be played, about how different buffs work, about how your timers are running on different areas of a map, having scouts reporting into you, and knowing how to manage them. It's a big deal and it's a lot of work. And it was once it's over, you look back at it and you think it's one of your most memorable experiences. Being able when you run those while you're doing it, you curse it for all it's worth. But
Well,
it is.
that tends to be something, and it's something we probably touched on the campfire, our Tuesday show about communities and guilds. Anytime you start to get massive amounts of people trying to get to the same goal, to have the same purpose, sometimes you end up with too many chefs in the kitchen, and it can be a nightmare. But it can
Mhm.
still be a hell of a lot of fun. Makes a difference whether it's PvP or PvE. It can be a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, within the open world, I don't know if it's my best experience with the open world, but something that I experienced this weekend comes to mind straight away that I spoke to you about earlier, and that is within Wildstar. I've not played a game where we've had the traditional open world PvP in a while, so like um, like me and Anu have done, we played Aeon for a while and you had rifting or raiding into enemy zones within that. And that to me is the classic definition of more open world PvP, where you're in enemy zones and your players running around, and they could be coming and ganking you while you're doing PvE. You have that cross combat rather
Mm-hmm.
than open world in the sense of Guild Wars, which is a siege-based open world. But you're always going into that knowing that that is purely PvP zone with objectives. That's objective-based open world, as opposed to kind of PvE questing area that has open world PvP. So again, something more similar to you'd say open world in WoW than in say Guild Wars. And I've not experienced that for a while now. I've been in a game where I've been running around doing a quest and then having someone just pop up behind you and attack you. Half your skills are on cooldown. You've got to react to the situation, get out the way, work out what mobs you've still got training on you, try and get them to train on that player, get out the way of the combat, and wait for your skills to come off a cooldown to attack them. And being able to do that, it's part of the thrill of open world combat, and I've not experienced that in quite a while. And the fact that we got to a stage this weekend where Whitevale was full of people and
Mm.
natural open world combat was happening. People were trying to gank our bases in Whitevale. You know, 5 people going in, and we go, there's 2 of us here. To hell with it, we're going to go and attack them. And then in chasing off 5 or 6 Exile players with just 2 of us, it's fantastic. It's so much fun. And I did nothing constructive all weekend. I just spent the rest of the weekend running around attacking people in open world.
Oh man. Now let's see. That makes me think of a couple of things, but I'll hold off just to give my answers to these two particular questions. I think my favorite structured and grouped version of PvP actually has to be, and this is gonna probably make people go, "What the hell is wrong with you?" But Hutball and Tor. I loved Hutball. I absolutely loved it. I loved going in with my group. You know, we had a 10-man strong, so we really didn't have too much problem walking in and, group structure combat type of a thing. But we got really good at it. We got brilliant at all of the interrupts and all the knockbacks and killing people and stunning them in fire and knocking them down. And this, I mean, it got exciting. And I liked it when people were still trying to win. I
Hmm.
didn't like it when it became a kill fest, when it was just kill as many people as you possibly can kill. Who cares who scores the goal? I didn't like that. When it lost its goal, that's when it started to really kind of go downhill from me. But I loved it. And I think it's because of the fact that the entire time that I played WoW, I was involved in all of the different types of things. I mean, I did arena, I did the battlegrounds and things. I still remember to this day summoning the gigantic tree giant type things in AV. And I remember 4-day battlegrounds for AV alone. I remember leaving and going, sorry guys, gotta go to work, gotta go to school, coming back. Hey guys, we're back. Hey, it's you. I love that. It's like, did you guys get the summon off? No, we're still doing this. All right, cool, we'll come help you. And it was just this amazing experience. And I kind of considered it partially structured because it was the same people from the server all the time, just filtering in and
Hmm.
out based on shifts. It was really crazy cool. My favorite open world, though, um, Stranglethorn Vale. I was running around on a priest, and my priest got ganked badly, like hardcore bad. And then I went, okay, there's gotta be a way to win this. I got right back up and I kite killed 2 people who were trying to gank me. As a priest, it was brilliant. I was like, I am a healer. Yes, I am. This is great. I mean, come on. It's those moments where you take on a challenge you didn't expect to occur, just like what you were saying, and boom, PvP is absolutely amazing. I will point out, though, I also remember standing in front of Ironforge and people going, hold on, don't do me. I have my cooldowns up.
Nope. Nope. If you're red, you're dead.
It's like, okay, come on. If you're really going to PvP, you're never going to know when you have your cooldowns up or down. Like you were saying, an open world. Now, if you're planning some kind of battle strategy where you have, 5 or 6 people trying to group up on somebody and trying to see if you can just basically rip someone
Or beat him with a
apart,
stick, heart.
in that case, go to Gurabashi Arena and WoW. Go to that place in oh gosh, that place in Tor, I can't remember what it was, where it was open world where you could kill your own people. It was brilliant. Can't remember what it's called now. Darn it. Uh, but yes, I mean, PvP, it's an exciting thing because honestly, it is never the same. That's one of the cool things I like about it. What's your worst PvP experience? And it can be from any genre.
Ellum.
Ilum,
Yeah.
why?
Lagfest. No objectives. Zerg around. Just, just no. Just no. No. Just no.
See, I'd have to agree
Just
with
no.
you.
It was just horrible. Not even any. No. Don't require time to think about it. Just the moment you enter a zone and you think, why am I playing this game?
See, for me, it became very apparent how badly designed that particular open world content was the day I showed up. Now, I was playing a Sith Inquisitor, and we were trading objectives
Yep.
because it was the quickest way to get things done. Nobody wanted to properly battle. It was just, you guys done? Yeah. All right, cool. Our turn. And I'm like, what? Again, it's like that whole situation with Hutball. The moment people lost the objective of what it was to win, not just the killing of the people, but the actual objective of turning that ball in and getting your touchdown, so to speak, is the moment I think PvP gets broken.
Well, to some extent, with larger scale PvP zones, that having that objective is part of the issue with trying to get people to do things. Um, Having objectives there, to some extent, has to incentivize them to want to engage in combat. However, at the same time, the point at which, like you say, those objectives simply become a trading experience that just kills it for people. Intrinsically, the issues with Ilum and SWTOR that it had with its design, with its basic game design, and with its kind of mechanical issues with the way the game was built, so it completely lagged out anyway, meant that there were real problems. I mean, hell, you go into a PvP zone and you turn around and you've got two safe zones either end of a big hallway, and you just go, what am I doing here? There's nothing of any interest to me. And both sides of that are safe zones as well. Why are they safe zones? Oh, they're safe zones because someone complained during the testing phase that they were getting spawn camped. Spawn camping happens. It's PvP.
It does happen. Now, I will throw out, there is one PvP experience I wish could be duplicated in other games. You know how you have your capture the flag objectives?
Yes.
You have your hold your point objectives. These are very common objectives in PvP. I remember a PvP instance in a game, and I'll see if you know the game, where you have roughly about, 5 to 10 people total. One person starts out as a zombie. The rest are defending themselves from a zombie horde invasion. That one person, it made no difference what side they were on, whether they were the good quote-unquote side or the bad quote-unquote side, their job was to make as many people turn into a zombie as possible. And the zombie waves got harder and harder and harder and harder. So obviously, at some point, everyone becomes a zombie. Do you know what game I'm referring to?
Actually, no, off the top of my head, I don't.
Oh, man. It was Champs, I believe, had that. Champions Online. Because it wasn't COV, because COV didn't have all the stuff for it. But yeah, I believe it was Champs. But yeah, that to me was just a fun bit of PvP. It broke the monotony of capture this, or defend this, or hold this. It was all about one person v everybody. And it would randomly pick who it made that. So one moment, you might find yourself the zombie. The next moment, you're trying to stop the zombies. So it really kept things entertaining on a PvP scale. Because it was no longer about, I don't like you because you're on the other opposing faction. It was more just simply a free-for-all, which was amazing.
I don't know, there's a lot to be said for faction combat, to be honest with you. Faction combat can have a huge, huge incentive on doing anything. I think plenty of people in chat, I know there are people in chat that I've played against in faction combat, and I've forged not only great friendships, but great rivalries with them, and faction combat can be fantastic, it really can. I wouldn't ever say that I've found faction combat monotonous, except when the other faction gave up.
Now, see, that's the thing. I don't necessarily think faction combat is monotonous. I think the type of combat can be monotonous. If you're going to do goal-oriented things, like if you're doing open world, it's completely different than if you're going to, say, go into a battleground. If you're going into a battleground, you're going to have basically the same repetitive objectives with a bunch of kill people or die kind of situations, which is brilliant. It's great. I'm just looking for other objective things to break up that kind of monotony. Now, someone had made a comment in the chat, was I dreaming about having a place where I could kill my own faction in Tor? No. I believe it was in Tatooine. It was a place where you had to go where certain chests spawned only at certain times for you to get your hands on certain crystals so that you could finish those awesome recipes that you had all of your companions trying to make for you.
That sounds vaguely like where we used to run Monday Night Fight Club in Tor.
That's probably where it was. I just remember running around and I saw somebody from my own faction and I went, because, I'm a Sith Inquisitor, and they died. And it was great. Outlaw's Den. Thank you, Serindy. See, I wasn't dreaming. It does exist.
In fact, that was where we used to run Monday Night Fight Club. Because you're talking about different types of PvP.
Hmm.
We also used to see player like kind of player organized PvP as well. So we used to run Monday Night Fight Club on Tatooine, and we used to run it by Outlaws Den, and we'd have both the light and dark side would, because you could have both factions there,
Hmm.
and we'd have them there, and we'd just group up into 5-man groups because you didn't kill your own group.
No, you didn't.
And then we'd have straight up 5v5 PvP, and we call it Monday Night Fight Club, and I've not seen that in other faction v faction games. But
Are you kidding me? I saw it in the Gurabashi arena a lot.
Well, I didn't really play WoW a lot, so
Fair enough.
but I've not seen it in a huge amount of other games. But then again, to be honest, by the point at which we turned around and we started hosting Monday Night Fight Club, we started running it in Star Wars, it generally was a case that a lot of people were getting bored of the same 3 battlegrounds all the time. It became the point where, to some extent, that was necessary to keep people from going nuts. In a lot of PvP games, you'll find that even in a game, let's pick one like Guild Wars 2, where you've got an open world objective-based PvP, you've also got arena-based PvP and Hotjoy Battlegrounds. You've got more than one form of PvP in a lot of games. Whereas, really effectively, Ilum was a no-go. So really, all you had were 3. It really was. It wasn't a PvP zone. It was just a kill trade zone. So essentially, you had 3 PvP battlegrounds that any PvP focused player would grind out. So the emergent behavior that came out of that was that the community built its own PvP battlegrounds using what was available to them.
See, I completely agree with that. There has to be a distinction made when you start to deal with, like I said, the different types of PvP objectives that are possible and are available, etc. There's only so many you can do. There's only so many you can do because it's literally objective based. What makes each individual fight different? The fact that you're fighting against other people. Now, it's different than the PvE environment, where the PvE environment has multiple dungeons available to them, has tons of open world things they can do through questing or what have you. PvE has a lot of variety. I firmly believe we need to have more variety in the objectives for PvP, which is why I say I have no problems with your capture the flag objectives. I have no problems with your, which is kind of interesting with the world plots in WildStar, that kind of mobile-esque style kind of play. I have absolutely no problem with that. Hold this point for as long as you can so that you can claim that objective. You know, that's fine. Those are perfectly okay. What I want, though, is something else. Hence, bring the zombies. Bring them on. Bring on the zombies, because it's awesome. And for all of you who don't want to be on my team in PvP, I'm sorry. I'm a healer in PvP. You might want me on your team.
You might want to be the first target.
It depends. It depends. You have to be really good. That's the thing. When I really got into PvP, when I really got into arenas, and I did 3v3s and 5v5s and 2v2s, I mean, when I really got into PvP, I was terrifying as a healer. I still have video. Unfortunately, the website that I put it up on went down, but I still had a video of a druid shaman team that I was on, where it went on forever because they simply could not kill us. Granted, we couldn't do much damage to them at that time, but we were both in heal spec, so it was kind of funny. Druid healing with shaman healing. Okay, go. Really bad idea. Very boring. Don't do it, but really funny for one arena. But yes.
Wow,
so,
war of attrition, not quite, I think, what the designers were aiming for.
No.
I would actually, to some extent, disagree with the comment about variety in PvP, in the respect that the comment about PvE having more variety, I wouldn't say PvE has more variety, more that in the traditional sense, PvE has more content. So PvP.
Well, that's basically what I mean, but it's a variety of content. That's
I
what I'm
see,
talking about.
from the perspective of a PvP player, what I
Mhm.
see when I see PvE dungeons is I see essentially you've got different variety of content, but at
Mhm.
the end of the day, once you've mastered it, you've mastered, for want of a better term of putting it, because this is a very generalizing statement, but you're essentially learning to do the dance. You know what's going to come. That's it. And PvP, at the end of the day, whether the map's the same or not, you can't predict other players. You can't predict other people. You can't predict how they're going to react. You can understand player psychology, and you can understand what you expect them to do, and you can be experienced. But every time you enter combat against another 5 people, 20 people, one person, you could have all the experience in the world. You could know how the meta is going to go, and then they could just pull something totally out of left field. 15 guys could come from behind you that you're not expecting. They could be talking to each other. Boom, you're completely rolled, and you can never learn. You never learn the game when it comes to PvP. You can learn. You can gather as much experience as you want, but it will always be different, and you will always have to be on your toes, and that's where the exhilaration
Yes.
comes from a PvP player's perspective, and that's why you find some PvP players, and to some extent, well, actually, a lot of PvP players will turn around and say that PvE doesn't interest them because it doesn't provide them with that level of unpredictability every time they go in to play it.
Well, see, this is where I throw back words you've already mentioned. You said that the types of PvP that were available got boring, stagnant. So you created your own types of PvP. All I'm saying is that PvP should have more objectives and it should be mixed up a little bit just to have some fun. That's all I'm saying.
I would say that in the case of the Old Republic, it wasn't about mixing it up to keep it fresh. It was about having a breadth of content available for players. And if that's what you mean, then I agree. Like I've said before, most games will have more than one form of PvP combat in them, and having
Mm-hmm.
a breadth of combat type available to them to keep it fresh is certainly something that's important in a number of games.
Now, see, that's where you and I basically agree. But yes, I mean, I would love to see another battleground, very much like the zombies. The zombie thing was bloody brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. But let's move into another direction. Now, we have many camps when it comes to MMOs. We've got the PvEers who are hardcore. We've got the PvEers who are casual. We've got the PvPers who are hardcore. We've got the PvPers who are casual. We got the people who walk the gamut between both. So, let's say, Screen, I am going to pretend I have never PvP'd in my life. I don't even know what PvP stands for. Someone said it was player v poker. I don't know. I've never done this ever. Okay?
Well, it could be worse. It could be poker v player, but anyway.
Yes, it could be, but no. Okay, so I come to you because I have heard from the grapevines, everyone keeps mentioning that Screenager guy who just totally demolishes and rolls them in PvP. Let's just go with that. And
Yeah, people will believe that nonsense.
and I come to you and I say, okay, so like I know what rating is because that's what I've been doing. What's this PvP thing? Does it take as much time? Can I just master it quickly? I mean, what's the difference?
What's the difference? Wow, that's an open question if there was one. PvP, PvP, blah 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 blah.
PvP.
PvP is for a completely brand new player. I would say PvP is a short scale combat type. In fact, no, saying it's short scale is not fair because it comes in different formats. It's a combat type that allows you to pit your own wits and skills against another player or another set of players to meet some form of objective within an enclosed area. So rather than engaging in environment-based combat, you engage in combat against other players. That's probably the easiest way to put it, I suppose.
Okay, so, I spend roughly about 20 to 30 hours a week prepping for raids, doing raids. If I spend that much time in PvP, will it make me equal to everybody else? Or even put me
Um,
on the same playing field as everybody else?
that for someone that's been playing for a while, that's a difficult question to answer. I'd say that it would give you a chance of gaining experience, which you'll need. However, I would probably say there's a lot of PvP that comes down um, to your player skill level. And although you can spend 30 hours a week trying to raise that skill level, there are certain mechanics within PvP that will take a lot longer for you to pick up. So
Okay.
given time, yes, but not intrinsically within week 1 or 2.
Okay. Now, here's a big question for you. Now, let's say somebody is interested in being really good at PvP and also really good at PvE. I mean, they want to be a raider, but they also want to get involved in arenas and battlegrounds. And they want to not just be that nameless red that text that runs across the screen. They want to be the kind of person where you see their name, people go, oh, we either need to kill on sight, which is a very popular term for some PvPs, PvP servers and PvP guilds and PvP arenas, etc., the kill on sight command, or just simply be shoot, run, because I need friends for this individual. Is it possible for somebody to do that without just basically saying no to having a real life?
Entirely. I mean, I don't have a real life, but I'm not that good at PvP either. No, in all seriousness, you can. In all seriousness, you'll find that. Right, let's be straight about this. Someone who's played video games for a while, who's played either be it PvE or PvP, first-person shooters or whatever. Anyone
Twitch
that's played
games?
anything, any Twitch games, yep, will have a better head start at someone who has had a casual persuasion for PvE previously. PvP is
Right.
in its basis form competitive because if you don't beat the other person, you lose. So it is basically a competitive game type, straight up. And if you have experience playing like Twitch games or playing any sort of video games to any sort of level previous to engaging in PvP, then you will have better reaction times than someone who's say casually just wants to experience some raid content at some point. You'll have decent reaction times. You'll be able to hopefully understand what's going on. And as you gain experience within PvP battlegrounds, you are going to understand things like your game meta, and your environment that's going on around you. You don't have to give up your real life. You do have to understand what you need to do to meet those goals, though, to excel above and beyond the kind of the medium level of player skill. So you are going to need to understand things that are easier for you to do. Are going to be to meet goals like understand your environment, read up on read up on the game type, watch the best players. These are things you don't need to necessarily be in game to do, but you will need to grind out hours doing the same thing, doing the same content, running the same battlegrounds, all the same maps, because it's going to happen to that extent. It parallels PvE, and that you're going to have to do the same thing repeatedly to start to get to master and understand what's going on. The difference being that once you've understood those quantities that aren't going to change, you still have to have those basic skills in terms of reaction time, being able to process information quickly, and generally knowing what's going on around you. And although to some extent PvE has that, it still has that idea of learning the dance. And no matter how, for example, much WildStar change up their dungeons, there are only going to be so many computations within that rotation that dungeon can have. Whereas when you engage someone on 1v1 within PvP, you don't necessarily even know if they're going to, for example, attack you or run away, or train mobs on you, or stun you, or root you,
You know, in
or
WildStar, that's
it
going to
could
be
be
so common because you've got the bloody telegraph. So, what's the greatest thing you can do? Run up, lightly tap a mob, and drag things over. So, when someone goes to hit you, they hit the mobs, and then they've got like multiple things beating them up. You've heard this great advice here, my friends. Now,
training mobs is an entirely legitimate tactic in open world PvP.
it
It's
is.
not.
It
It's frowned
is.
upon, and it's not. It's not honourable. But if you're getting screwed, it's been happening since the day and I. It's been going on for years, and it'll happen in any open world PvP you get.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I think that we want to touch on before we go, too close towards the end of the show is something that I'm even seeing currently in our chat. There is nothing wrong with being a casual PvPer. There's nothing wrong with being a casual PvEer either. It takes many types of people to make an MMO viable in a monetary manner that a studio will continue to support it. So let's just go with that. But what I am going to ask you about, though, and we can debate this out however we so wish, is when somebody is let's say, a casual PvPer. We'll put me back in this. I have now taken lessons from the great Screenager, and I am starting to get into PvP. I just don't have the time to put into it that I can put into
Let,
raiding. Hold
let's
on.
make an imaginary PvE player called, I don't know, Mizfa. Yeah, that'll do.
Okay, so fine. We have this imaginary player named Mizpah. Sorry, Mizpah. Feel better, babe. So sorry. You have this imaginary Mizpah player. PvPer named Mizpah who started going into PvP. And one of the things that ends up happening is he's getting constantly yelled at that he's not good enough. That he is constantly being put down because people are like, ooh, you're a noob. How should somebody who wants to enjoy the PvP experience or even approach the PvP experience if they've never done it before in an environment where it almost beckons to call out the competitive, trash-talking nature of players and humans in general?
I think we're straying on to Tuesday's show here,
We are
aren't we? Just
we're
a little bit.
slightly going into the campfire, but I really want to make certain we hit this here because honestly, it's as important, if not more so.
So other than get a bigger stick or a bigger stick with a nail in it on fire, other than that, then realistically, he's gonna have to look for either a community or players that he wants to play with at the end of the day. The thing about going in is let's be honest about this. The thing about going in a PvP community in any game on your own without any experience is you will find it toxic. No matter how good the community is, it's competitive and it's toxic. It can feel toxic to you. It can feel quite abrupt and it can feel quite blunt and it can be a pretty harsh environment. As we said before, it is competitive in its nature. So people want to win. You queue up and say League of Legends and you queue up solo and you don't cut it, or even if you do cut it, you're still going to get abuse if your team starts losing. So no matter how good your community is, you're going to find if you went on your own with no experience, you're going to have problems. Look for any community that you fit with as a player and that has the same sort of objective goals as you do, and start playing with that community or start playing with friends. At the end of the day, you're going to find that if you drop yourself straight into a competitive environment and you don't cut it, then people are going to get frustrated. And you may be able to say that being abusive to someone is crossing the line, but can you blame someone for getting annoyed or getting frustrated if one of their team turns up in a competitive raid queue and doesn't have the slightest idea what they're doing?
See, now you're going to throw it that way. Okay. Here's my thinking, and you'll have to let me know what you think. First off, I completely agree. If you're going to do PvP, in all honesty, do it with friends because then you have people to laugh with. Even if you get your face trounced constantly, you at least enjoy having fun with the people you're playing with. That's kind of the point behind an MMO. Just saying. Although I'm still bloody shocked by how many people are solo players. I get it, believe me, I do, but I'm the type of person who wants to group around all the people that I know and make memories and experiences. So that's just me. When it comes to actually dealing with the concept of the quote unquote toxic community, there are a couple of things that come to mind. One, don't take what people say personally. Because honestly, it just doesn't work well. When you start to take what people say personally in a PvP environment, and it can be very, very hard to do. I still remember a 2v2 arena where I was learning how to PvP, where the people on the other side, this is back when you could actually talk to each other in the arenas, when you were on the same faction, where people on the other side said, "Your rogue sucks." And they were talking about me. And I still remember, I must have had brilliant coaches because they literally inspired me. They didn't make me feel bad. They let me know that I was going to learn. My coach was standing beside me going, "She may suck, but she's the one killing you." And yeah, it took me 5 minutes to kill a paladin as a rogue. And my druid was not helping me. They were just keeping me alive. But that kind of supportive mentality from the people who are around you is important. So surround yourself with cool peeps. I will also throw out, take every experience as a learning experience. When you go into a PvP environment, you are not going to take a boss down the first time without any trouble. And in fact, if you do, bad game design, game designers go back to the drawing board. You need to make people work and earn their stripes, whether it's in PvE or PvP. If you really want to get into PvP, use every death as a learning experience. In fact, I'm going to take this to another show we have. I'm going to take this to Top Draw, where we talk about TCGs, where we talk about CCGs, and we talk about SCGs. If you are working on a deck for your particular card game, regardless of what it is, you want to lose more than you win while you're tweaking it, because you learn nothing from a win. Nothing. You might get a few pointers here and there, but the more you lose, the more information and feedback you get, and you go, right, I need to tweak this. I don't have enough of this. I need to take care of this for board control. I need to do this for a little bit of resource management. You need to lose in order to learn how to play. Be okay with losing. That's all I got to say. Just accept and be okay with losing. But I will state this. If you're part of that community that's sitting there doing nothing but trash talking down at people, don't be surprised when all of a sudden you find your server completely clear of PvPers. Just saying. The responsibility, it's on you. I know this because I watched it happen on my server. I watched it happen. So many people got sick and tired of the Horde constantly winning battles and battlegrounds and arenas and like everything else. It was just, it was a nightmare. It was just Horde this, Horde this, Horde this, Horde this. They're always going to win. They're always going to win. And Horde were coming over because the type of server I was on at the time was an RP server, coming over going, y'all suck, y'all suck. And it got so bad, Horde never queued. Alliance got instantaneous queues. Then it died down so bad, people just stopped. And then all of a sudden we have cross server. That's when cross servers came about, might I add. But go ahead.
That's not intrinsically just down to the trash talk.
No, no, it isn't. But it certainly has a huge impact. There is a point where you take it too far. There is.
That's fair enough, but that's not intrinsic. That happens irrespective of the trash talk. Fair enough. Fair point. Fair point. Trash talk can be taken too far, and even we run rules against. There's a line, and we've got, and we as a PvP community, we have those rules in place because you want PvP, but you want competitive and at least respectful PvP to some extent. There are lines, but when you have faction-based combat, if one faction wins too much, and I can talk from experience here with this, then the other faction are going to stop playing. Um, that's That's partly down to game design. That's
I
not
think I
intrinsically
think
down
it
to the trash
has.
talk.
I think it's one of the pointers, one of the factors, because there's nothing that says this is the one solitary cause for this effect. It doesn't work like that. Not when it comes to human natures. It's always multiple butterflies flapping their wings, causing the rainforest to fall down and volcanoes to explode in Pompeii. You know, there's many, many factors that do it. But I honestly think the more people get belittled and put down, especially if you are hopping, sides just to hunt people down, to go, ha ha ha, you suck, in a repeated and consistent manner, you're going to beat down your opposition to the point where they go, well, why am I bothering?
I can agree.
I
It has.
I
I can
like
agree.
it
It
better.
elevates it.
I like it better when, if I've done something in PvP, I hop sides to go, dude, you totally thrashed me. That was awesome. Let's talk. What can I learn from you? That's what I do. That's how I handle things. But not everybody is going to do that. And not everybody is going to get a response. I've been lucky. Like I said, I honestly think in my PvP career, I've been incredibly lucky. Because every time I turn around and I'm looking for, advice or support or someone to help guide me into better understanding, I've always got the one who is patient, who doesn't sit there and go, you suck, you'll never be good at PvP, or what is wrong with you? I have never had a PvP match where someone was screaming and they were grouped with me. I have had
That's
calm, collected. Oh, well, we just screwed that up. Well, that match is pretty much over. That's the kind of stuff that occurs in my PvP experiences. I
well.
swear
You
I've been really lucky. Go on.
No, I was going to say, well, you've had an incredibly, I'll be blunt, you've had an incredibly easy experience with the PvP community then, because frankly, we can be a bunch of little shits at
Wow.
times.
Why?
Because people, like I said, because people by their nature are competitive, and no matter how well, and I've had this discussion with someone a couple of days ago actually. Despite the fantastic efforts by online gaming companies to monitor and manage their own communities and to expect people to play in a respectful fashion, that MMOs, MOBAs, and online games never get to the toxic state that Xbox gaming, for example, gets to. It still suffers
Oh,
from it still suffers from human nature, and the fact is, if you lose in a competitive environment, you will get frustrated. Um, one of one of the
it
things I
makes no
get
difference
into,
whether you're PvEing or PvPing at that point in time. Do you know how frustrating it is to miss a jump puzzle for 40 minutes straight?
yeah, but that's your fault, not someone else's.
So is not being able to handle oneself in a 1v1 environment.
And how many? Well, generally you get those sort of toxic communities, and you get that comment, like you said, in a team, in an arena environment, when you said that you've never had someone turn around and say you suck. Well, that's not going to happen in 1v1.
No,
Yeah, you might exactly. So there's my point. There's my point entirely. You don't build a community of one.
no, you don't.
Toxic communities happen when you get groups of players in competitive environments. Human nature, it happens in PvP. What I was going to say was, despite the advice that give out, when you enter PvP, whether you go in with friends or not, have a thick skin about it, because people can be dicks at the end of the day. Also, one of the things that habits I've gotten into, and it happens generally because I run some PvP content with larger groups, or when I certainly run with larger groups, you'll find that if you can do it, and it's not something you necessarily need to do, but it's always worthwhile in PvP, record your whole PvP experience.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's the same thing with PvE. It's the best advice
Yeah.
I could give anybody. Record yourself playing and go back and watch and learn. And I forgot, I didn't fully answer one of your questions, and I want to answer your question now. You asked me, would I be frustrated if a PvPer queued into a PvE thing and didn't know what the hell they were doing? I only get frustrated when they don't tell me to start, hey, I'm new, can you give me some pointers? I have walked into an arena, or not arena, but a battleground that I've never played before, and I've gone, how do you guys do this? What's your strategy? I have joined pre-made groups because they lost one, and I've said, guys, this is what I'm capable of. What is it you want me to do since I'm not on your voice comms? I have thrown myself out there to say to people, can you help me? Can you point me in the right direction so that I don't screw up whatever you've got going? By doing that, if someone comes in and goes, hey guys, I'm a straight up PvPer, man. Yo, bro, I'm all like in your face, like killing stuff and dudes and dog and what is it? Dog, such wow, much wow.
Yes, we all talk in Dodge and we call each other bro, irrespective of our sexual orientation or gender. That is exactly how PvP works. And we're done.
No, but as they came in and they just said, I don't know this dungeon, I don't know this raid or what have you, I could totally get behind just going, no worries, let me walk you through it. In this particular one, you've got to deal with this. And I've done that before. To me, that's part of fostering a community. Communication. Positive communication. There's nothing wrong with trash talking, etc. But, you know, there is a point where it can go too far. A real big point where it can go too far, especially when you end up with people stalking you. That's never a good thing. But that's something for a different show. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to let Ed and myself offer one last bit of our thoughts when it comes to PvP. We are going to take questions from you guys. So if you have any questions you want us to answer about our PvP experience, about our experiences in general, or any thoughts that we have, please put them into the chat now so that we can grab them. And I'm going to let Ed say his piece, let myself say my piece, do what we need to do for the MMO buff thing, and then we're going to tackle the questions. So, Ed.
Yes.
PvP. Do you have anything you want to make certain is clear besides what we've discussed so far? Any points you want to make certain we hit?
My two biggest bits of advice I already gave out. Have a thick skin. Try and play with friends, and my God, honestly, record what you're doing. I know it sounds like it might not be something you're technically capable of doing, but if you can do it, try and record what you're doing. You'd be surprised how much you learn from watching back what you're doing. Even when you win, you get to learn something back. So do try and do it. That doesn't mean you need to record your entire 6-hour gaming session out in open world, but if you're actively going into a battleground and you know that you potentially could learn something, not only are you going to learn something from yourself, for yourself, but potentially your teammates as well. Try and understand what you are getting into. Take the time when you're entering PvP to understand the game, understand the mechanics behind what you're doing. It won't necessarily allow you to play and react quicker, but it will give you a better understanding of what's going on, and therefore hopefully be able to anticipate what other players are going to do.
Now, see, I would add to all of that stuff, if you've never PvP'd, PvP. Do not take your first months of PvP as gospel as to what it's always going to be like. I also highly recommend seeking out guilds, communities, individuals. I mean, everything I've ever learned about MMOs, and I've now been involved with them in quite a while, and hey, look at me, I'm on MMO Buff. Hi, Mom. You know, everything I've ever learned has come about because I've taken a moment and gone, you're doing something really cool. Can I learn from you? I've been shot down, but I've also had a great amount of success. And I've also met people, learned things, got a whole new perspective. And those were the times when I loved my community, when I loved my server. I miss them. And no, I did not get your question, by the way, cool man, about that. So if you can resend that, I'll get to that. The only other thing I want to throw out there is have fun. Seriously. And have fun. You don't have to PvP if you don't want to. But honestly, if you've
No,
never
you
done it
do.
before,
I'm going with you, do.
No,
And I think you'll find I'm being very controlled here. The urge to just go, yep, find friends, find a community, join Afterlife. I mean, sorry, it's so strong.
We're gonna go that route. Let's do this.
Are we really gonna do that? No.
Put your dukes up. No, I firmly believe, go for it. Seriously. And if you need to, turn chat off for a while. Just put some music on, turn chat off, and learn from yourself. Go forth, do your own thing. But honestly, give PvP a chance. That's my big message. Give it a chance, but don't forget, it's not just about killing people. There are objectives. There's design implementation done by the developers. Give them feedback. Give them constructive feedback. Because if all you do is say, Worse on Gulch sucks, it's repetitive over and over and over and over and over, what good is that to them? State, this is a bit repetitive. I find running back and forth across the field where literally no one's trying to stop me kind of bad. Is this because my class and spec allows me to do it and it's a design choice you guys did wrong? Or is this sort of along the lines of maybe we should have another objective, like, I don't know, jump over a fiery pit of doom? Whatever. Come up with ideas, come up with suggestions. Get in touch with them. But yes. So, what's up? You took a deep breath. I was expecting you to charge in.
Charging? Me? No. But I think looking back over the entire show so far, that biggest single thread has been play with friends and do play with friends. We've seen we've seen in any PvP game you play. I'm going to take WildStar for an example right now. I think anyone that's played WildStar, and I think that's most of the audience will have played it during beta, and anyone that's played Waitiki Temple will realise that people are dicks. They will zerg the center, they will cluster up, and all you need is a few players with a brain in them talking to each other to turn a match. It's easy to do, and that is an intrinsic example of how PvP and Battlegrounds always start out when an MMO launches, is people don't know what they're doing, and they just zerg around like a bunch of headless chickens, and you will not have as much fun playing PvP when people are just chewing each other up in a big ball as you'll have if you're playing with friends. So do play with friends. It's the way to go.
Without a shadow of doubt, anytime you see Screenager together, you can pretty much guarantee the end result is friends. Have them. But that's just because of who we are. Now, first off, before I go too far, Too Hyper, thank you so much for subscribing. We're not trying to push this on to people. If people really like what we're doing, please spread the word out so people know what we're about. You can find us on, Twitter at MMOBuff. You can find us at Facebook at MMOBuff. You can find us on YouTube at MMOBuff. You can find us here at MMOBuff. You can also find us in Anouk at anouk.com/company/MMOBuff. But you've taken the step to subscribe to us, and I have to just publicly say to you, from the bottom of my heart and from the heart of MMO Buff peoples, and there's quite a few of us, thank you. But yes.
Do you not have in the subscriber package, if they turn up at an event, you will give them hugs?
I will happily give a hug to anybody who subscribes to us. I will. In fact, I did that at the event when we went over to Meltdown, when we had Stefan Frost and Mark Holmes from WildStar. When we had them over at Meltdown, or I should say they had us, because that's kind of the way it worked. Anyone I met who was like, "Hey, you're Pseudo," I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love you." I gave him big hugs. Right. Yeah, so
that's confirmed for subscribers. Find Pseudo's home address and she will give you a hug. No, don't. I'm joking.
My Chua will eat you alive. Don't come to my house. No, come to one of the events we're doing. We're heavily involved in stuff. And if you meet me at a convention, if you just tap me on the shoulder and go, Pseudo, Pseudo, you're with MMO Buff, I don't care if you subscribed or not, you'll get a hug. I did have someone ask me for my autograph. That was really odd. I was like, sure. And I loved it. It made me smile. And I turned like 50 shades of red because I totally blushed. But it made me smile. So I will let you know. You who I signed, you have literally defined what my signature is going to be like if I ever have to give it again.
And you legitimately have the first issue of Pseudo Sig, so
Absolutely.
if it ever goes on eBay, just so you know, first Sig.
Exactly. Right. So let me get through this stuff and then we can answer questions. So as you know, as you heard me talking about with Screenager, we have a huge thing involving communities. We have a love of communities. We have a love of having strong communities, positive communities. And yes, sometimes that does include also picking on each other and trash talk. For example, Screen, my guild can beat your guild up in PvP. I am so screwed.
You remember what happened the last time that Mizva issued that challenge, then bailed on the matter?
Oh, I know. He put me in such a horrid place. Hey, thank you, Mitchell. Thank you for the subscribe. Oh, you get hugs. But yes, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. British time, which starts at the same time as this show started, we have Real Blank Space, Screenager, and myself, and usually a guest on to talk about communities. Tomorrow, we have Lewis B., aka Persistent Worlder, from 10 Ton Hammer joining us. And we're actually going to be tackling a rather interesting concept. Would you let your kids play an MMO?
It's a rather touchy subject.
It is a big touchy subject, and it's something that we're definitely going to tackle, especially when it comes to things like trash talking and stuff like that.
Depending on how well or not that goes, we're going to end up on the front page of the Daily Mail on Wednesday.
Yes. Oh boy, this will be great. I always wanted to be a Daily Mail. No, I haven't. I can't even say it with a straight face. Anyway, Wednesdays, we have the Blizzard Forecast, which has Mizpa, Blank Space, Parv from Yogscast, myself, Dr. Marshmallows, and we talk all things Blizzard, from StarCraft to Hearthstone to Heroes of the Storm, to Diablo to Warlords of Draenor. We talk everything when it comes to the stuff like that. So that's our Blizzard Forecast. Thursdays, there's a little bit of a break. Just a little one. Just a small one. Fridays, yeah, it's a wee one. Fridays, we have the Cosmotronic, which is all about WildStar. I'm going to let you guys in on a secret, okay? Last week, we gave away 100 beta keys. Pay attention in the upcoming weeks. We've got guests. And you may get a chance to see me squee like a little girl. Maybe. That's all I'm going to say. Just going to leave it at that. Also, Saturday, our new top draw is going to be starting up, and we're going to be looking at new TCGs other than Hearthstone. Yes, you will still get our Hearthstone piece in the Blizzard Forecast, but it's time for us to stretch our wings and go check out some other TCGs. So, yes, do kind of keep that stuff in mind. Come check us out and stuff. And then, of course, we're back on Monday, and I should have Mizpa with me. Should. And then Mizpa and I can go back to basically sitting there butting heads because I think Mizpa's stubborn and he thinks I'm stubborn, and we have very differing opinions on things. But yes. So on that, we have questions. Are you ready to answer questions, Screen?
Appropriately or? Yeah, all right.
I'd appreciate appropriately. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so, if you break out into a Genesis song at an event, you'll get a hug. Yes. Yes, Mixelbox one?
No.
If you break...
No.
Actually, I'll do you one better.
No.
If you pull up the chair in front of you and you start doing the drumming, leading into the song...
Mizva will sing along, and do you really want Mizva to sing along? I mean, really?
I'm used to ignoring him. He's my guild leader. So what I would do, I'm just joking. I need to stop picking on him. But what I would do in that particular case is I'd probably be like, let me buy you a drink. let's sing. And then I jump into the singing part and I'd sing Genesis. And then you'll probably never want to be near me again. But that's okay. I totally get into it. Oh, yeah. And then you get a hug. Yes. So, rightio. Question. So the lesson for today is don't team up with Pseudo when you do PvP, right? I answered that. You want to team up with me. If nothing else, I will make you laugh. That's my opinion on it.
In fairness, Pseudo's not that bad at PvP. There are other people, Misfit, Kai, that are worse at PvP. I did not spend the first time. I have never uttered the words "kill the dream" when we went to the battlegrounds in Wildstar Winter Beta.
Kill the dream. Oh, that's great. Poor Kai. Poor dear. Wingpoint asks, what do you think are the best PvP types that you've enjoyed? Is it PvP with objectives or PvP that's just basically involves only killing the enemy team?
Ooh.
Pick one. You have to pick one.
That's a hard choice between straight up open world PvP and then objective based PvP because they're all dependent on who you play with. And that is the problem. If I had to say now pick one straight up, then objective based PvP probably had the more longevity to it.
Now, see, that's interesting. I would say that I enjoy objective-based PvP. I really, really do. But I would actually prefer the kind of PvP where you bang your heads against each other in an open world format, not in an arena fixed format. Because I like the opportunity to run away. I also like the opportunity to chase. I think one of the coolest things I ever did on my Paladin was I got involved in a fight with somebody and they didn't like how much damage they took, so they started to kind of run, and they vanished because they were a rogue. I seem to have like troubles with rogues. I pick on them a lot, or they pick on me because I'm a rogue. Anyway, this rogue goes to run off. Paladin popped onto a flying mount after I ran out of combat because combat stopped, found them, and killed them.
I think
they then turned around and killed me repeatedly. But
well, the thing is, they both have things about them that are fantastic.
Yes, they do.
The open world thing is, for example, again, I'm going to go back to Aeon, but it is a good split of open world and objective based. So the open world in that, for example, there'd be particular zones that you would get the other faction in repeatedly, and you just hear a call from your guildmates going, "There's Asmos in Heron, get here now," and everyone would just drop whatever they were doing, and they would go there, and you chase them around, and it was fantastic. It was so much fun, but that's fun to an extent. But objective-based PvP, what you're thinking of is arena and battleground combat. To have objectives in it. When I think of objective-based PvP, I think of arenas and battlegrounds in their own class. I think of objective-based PvP of being large-scale, almost open world to some extent, but open world objective-based PvP, where
sort of like the open world in Hellfire, where you had to actually stay in a building for a minute to cap it.
I'm thinking Dark Age of Camelot. I'm thinking
you're going
Aeon Sports Ages. I'm thinking ESO Realm v Realm. I'm thinking even to some extent Wildstar Warpots. Bigger scale with objectives. Battlegrounds generally don't tend to get to that sort of scale past 20 people. Even at larger scale, objective-based combat is probably my favorite type of combat because you've got the process. Not only do you have to be able to PvP, but you add that extra layer of having to be able to coordinate large amounts of people, understand a larger meta, understand how other people are going to react, and to some extent understand the psychology of other players. So knowing that if you have 5 players and you're going to put if in an arena format you have 2 players and they have 5, and you push them, you're going to die. You're just going to die, pretty much. I mean, you might not if you're better than them, but in general, if you're playing equally balanced classes and equally balanced players, you're probably going to die. If you've got 5 players to someone's 20 players in an open world environment, and you push them, understanding certain psychology that if you push someone into a choke point, for example, towards an objective, knowing that you're going to go ahead and you're going to be able to convince them somewhere in the back of their head, they're saying, they're attacking us, why are they attacking us? Let's back up. And understand that you can manipulate people, you can maneuver another group behind them, and you can know what you do. And being able to process all that information is much more of a challenge than just being able to. Being good at PvP, like I said, there comes a certain point earlier, I said that, you know, it becomes your ability to react and to be able to play and be quick in what you're doing, but there comes a point where being able to process all that information and control a battlefield that large becomes an extra challenge, and that's what I really enjoy within PvP, is being able to understand stuff on a larger scale and be able to move that battlefield around on a scale that surpasses that 5-10 man player of a battleground.
Now, see, I can get behind that. I will still state, I think some of the best fun I ever had in PvP was at Torrent Mill. And I'll just leave it at that. Nothing like frustrating the little lobies who need their flying, Griffin Master or their Bat Master, and you've killed it. Oh, so sorry. Totally impacting your gameplay experience. But yes. Next question of Doom. This is from Coolman, who asks, is it when you were talking about the new Death Rattle cards for Hearthstone, I asked if Soul of the Force was going to replace a minion's Death Rattle or add on to it? That question will be handled tomorrow in Top Draw. I will state that. That is actually in our Top Draw notes. I've also got a couple of other things because we've had some crazy things occur this week. But anyway, I will also state that when it comes to trading card games, if you ever want to learn how to gain a thick skin, do it that way. Because, oh my God. But yes, Wingpoint has yet another question. I love the questions. Questions are awesome. Any news on another Meltdown event before Wildstar launch? Launch. Launch.
Launch? Nope.
Screenager was planning something. So,
I can say nothing right now. No, can't say anything but keep your ear to the ground.
MMOBuff and just smiles.
Yes.
Cheeky smile in 3?
When it's ready, I believe is the term.
Oh, yes. So yes, we've gone through quite a few questions. I want to thank all of you guys for making today's show absolutely fabulous. I am now going to basically give you guys gigantic hearts. Screen and I are going to basically sort of dance here for roughly about a minute or so, and I'm going to play Gasp, a commercial. But that's the end of the show. It's your choice to stay and support or leave. I'm not going to force you. Just making use of partnership. Yay. So I want to thank each and every single one of you.
She needs the money. She really needs the money.
I do this for the love. Don't make anything from it, but you know, it doesn't matter. It's all about the love. It's all about the awesomeness.
She's living on Kinder eggs, people.
Oh God.
Stay for the advertisement. She's living on Kinder eggs.
It would be horrible if you actually got an advertisement for Kinder eggs now. That would be just bloody brilliant. But no, I want you guys to check out the MMOBuff.TV website. Aiko has a piece up. Is Wildstar really all it's cracked up to be? You're definitely going to want to check it out. And tomorrow we have a piece from our screen here about mega servers in Guild Wars 2. And
apparently
the
they are mega.
Yeah. So it's all about the fun stuff that we have on the site as well. So please remember, guys, if you have any questions, comments, or anything, and you have not gotten them in, voice at MMOBuff.TV, go to Twitter, go to Facebook, leave us messages, go to YouTube, leave us comments, and remember, we love you. At least I do, like with all my hearts and souls. And my little evil.
I will put the pointy end into your squidgy bit.
Great! Now PvP. I've got to bleep it! Thanks, Amy! Almost made it through a show with Screen. Almost.
Wasn't me. Wasn't me. It was my cat bomber.
Oh, wow. But yes. So, yes, if you want to stay for the 60-second commercial, please do. Screen and I are basically going to be dancing here for those 60 seconds, and then we'll basically come back and say bye-byes and stuff like that. But yes, thank you from the bottom of our heart. Greetings, everyone. Pseudo here. Thanks for watching episode 28, To PvP or Not to PvP, on our Monday's MMO Buff podcast. Unfortunately, Mizpah was sick. Get well soon, Mizpah. And in his place, we had Screenager discussing with myself PvP in a variety of manners, both with objective and non-objective based. And yes, there was poking fun at zombies. If you like this episode, please click like, share, and subscribe. And of course, if you want to watch a previous episode, click the bobbling heads bouncing up above you right there.